Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video where today we're talking about Dungeons & Dragons. I know, my videos are painfully inconsistent. We have a bunch of random topics here on my channel. But yeah, today we're talking about Dungeons & Dragons. I've been playing a lot of this lately and I just have been really wanting to make a video on it. So today I'm going to be making a tier list of all of the classes in Dungeons & Dragons based on how much I like them, how good they are, and if they're just a good class or not. But anyways, also I should just let you guys know, this is my opinion, not yours. So if you disagree with what I say, well, that's your opinion. So don't get mad when I place your favorite class in last. Also, I will only be using classes from the Player's Handbook because I don't own Xanathar's Guide and it's stuff from Unearthed Arcana. So basically, we're going to be using classes from the Player's Handbook. But anyways, let's get into this. First up, Barbarians. In my opinion, the Barbarian is the easiest class to play in Dungeons & Dragons. I know everyone says Monk and Fighter are easiest, but I personally think Barbarian has the least amount of abilities to worry about for new players. Anyways, Barbarians are a very tanky class. They have the highest health in the game, clocking in at a D12, they do lots of damage, and they have the ability to rage, which basically boosts their damage and makes them resistance to lots of damage. This is a very simple class, and it's quite easy to play. There's nothing inherently bad about it. It does get some cool abilities. For example, it's subclasses that I can take, Path of the Berserker and Path of the Totem Warrior, are actually both really cool. Path of the Berserk it's honestly okay, basically gives you more abilities to your rage, but Path of the Totem Warrior is extremely fun. You embody the spirit of an animal between a bear, an eagle, and a wolf, and they're honestly all really cool abilities. My favorite is probably the eagle, because you get some really fun abilities out of that. But yeah, Barbarian is a very simple class, and if you're a new player, Barbarians are definitely a good starting point. As for how much I like this class, this is a solid B tier. Up next is Bards. Bards, in my opinion, are one of the easiest classes to play in Dungeons & Dragons, at least for spellcasters. Bards are very fun and whimsical classes to play. The way their magic works is they play it through their music. Whatever instrument they are proficient within, that is how they play their music. Like my character that I'm playing in a campaign, Reed Goodbarrel, plays his music through his lute, and he plays fun little tunes to make his magic come shooting out from it. Bards are very much support classes. They have a lot of abilities that let you help other people. Lots of healing spells, giving them extra dice. Bards are very fun to play. They also get some really cool abilities. Like, for example, Jack of all trades basically makes them good at everything. But yeah, Bards, in my opinion, are a very fun class to play. They're fairly simple for new players, so if you want to play a magic class, but you don't want to get too complicated, Bards are a good start. Bards are definitely one of my favorite classes in this game, and in my opinion, they are definitely S tier. So let's get to the next one. Clerics, the God-sworn prophets. Clerics, very similarly to Bards, have a lot of support spells. Lots of healing spells, things to buff the party, but the way their magic works is way different from Bards. Bards get their magic through their music, and they also learned it over time. Clerics get their music from the deities they worship. Clerics worship a certain deity, and they get magic from that. This I actually really like about Clerics because it makes them super customizable. I think there's around 11 gods you can choose from, and they all give you different abilities. There's Tricksters, War, Life, Nature, there's all kinds. I only said 4 of those, but there's all kinds of them. They have some really cool abilities too, like my favorite is probably Divine Intervention, where you literally call your deity to come and help you. I haven't fully had this work because the times that I've tried it didn't roll good enough and it didn't work, but I've seen the ability work with other players and it looks really, really cool. This class is very fun to play, but it's a little bit spell heavy, because unlike Bards who just have a certain amount of spells they know, Clerics just know every spell in the book, but they only have a certain amount they can prepare every day. So they're a little more confusing than Bards, but if you can pick up on it, they're a very fun class to play. As for where I'd put this is definitely a solid A tier. Druids. They are very much protectors of nature. They have a lot of nature-based spells, lots of cool abilities. Probably one of my favorites is called Wild Shape. With this ability, they can turn into a wild animal or beast, and they gain a pool of hit points. And when that hit points dies, they revert back into their old self with all of the hit points. They all have a lot of cool abilities, and like Bards and Clerics, they are support classes. Lots of healing spells and stuff to buff the party. But what's really cool about them, like Clerics, is you can specify which type of nature you are, specifying in. There's stuff like grasslands, forest, desert, icelands. I don't think that's one of Arctic or something like that. And you gain certain abilities based on, which one you choose. You also learn certain languages only other druids know. They're also a really cool class. Like clerics, they know basically every spell in the book, so they are a little bit spell heavy if you're a new player, but druids are definitely a very fun class. As to where I put this, this is definitely A tier. Let's move on. Next up, fighters. Like barbarians, they are a very tanky and melee combat focused class. They have lots of cool abilities, but unlike barbarians, which are kind of just rage and kill everything, fighters are about tactics. You can choose specific fighting styles that you specialize in. There's archery, defense, dual wielding. There's plenty of other ones, but those are just some of them that come to mind. Fighters are also very customizable. I know I said I wouldn't talk about other classes that weren't in the player's handbook or subclasses, but honestly, stuff like arcane archer and gunslinger makes fighters really customizable based on the type of fighter you like to play. They have some cool abilities, especially Battle Master. Battle Master lets you take 4 maneuvers that you can perform in combat. Some really cool abilities, like for example, you can send your companion out to fight instead of you, or you can give an inspiring speech and give people an inspiration. I think fighters, people say they're kind of a simple class, but I personally really like fighters. I think they're really cool, and for that, I'm going to put this in A tier. Up next is monks. Like fighters and barbarians, but a little bit more about spiritual purification. They learn on focusing their ki to perform really cool abilities. Some like stunning strikes, which lets you basically disrupt the ki in someone's body, which is kind of like your ki is basically your kind of spiritual soul. I think that's what it is, but I don't know. Monks get a lot of really cool abilities. They get martial arts, they get unarmored defense, which basically means they don't have to wear armor and they can still have a really high armor class. They can get a little annoying if you're being the dungeon master and they keep spamming stunning strike and they just keep ruining your combat encounters. But honestly, if you're a player, monk is really fun. They also get a few subclasses they can choose from, although I've kind of forgotten them. I know there's Way of the Open Hand and Way of the Drunken Master. I know there's like 2 more, but I may have forgotten them, and those add some really fun abilities to the monk. The monk, unlike the fighter, really specializes in their hand-to-hand combat rather than weapons, and I think monks are a really cool class. I've only really played this class once in a small campaign run by my cousin, but from when I did play monk, it was quite fun. I think I definitely put this in B tier. Paladins, very similar to clerics, but a little bit differently. Paladins take an oath that they are bound by, and this oath is basically, it gives you some cool abilities, like you can take Oath of Vengeance, and I actually can't remember. I'm going to throw 2 up on the screen right now because there's a bunch of oaths that I've kind of forgotten, because I've never played this class. Honestly, right now, this is one of the few classes that I have not played, and I kind of don't really care to. Although I do hear they have some cool abilities. The oaths give them certain abilities based on the oath you take. You can become an oath breaker, which if you really want to, you can become a death knight from that, which is quite cool. You also have abilities like Divine Smite, which basically makes your weapon attacks stronger. And what's cool is you can apply that to after you found out if you've hit or not. You don't have to roll Divine Smite and then just find out you miss. You can apply it if you hit. Paladins seem kind of cool, and I might get around to playing them at some point, but Paladin is not something I'm super itching to play. But before I'm seeing them, they seem fairly cool, so I'm going to say B tier. Rogues. Very stealthy and sneaky type characters. This is a class that's both complicated and simple to play, because all you really have to know about them is you have to be stealthy, but there's a lot that goes into that. Basically, rogues get a lot of their bonuses from being stealthy, hiding in the shadows, basically rolling high in stealth. And they actually get bonuses when they have sneak attacks. Whenever you attack someone and they don't know you're there, you gain extra damage to the attack, which is really, really cool, and I like that. They also have some cool subclasses. They have Arcane Trickster, which lets them cast magic because rogues before could not. There's also Thief, which makes them more agile, and Assassinate, or just Assassin, which lets you destroy anything. Rogues are a very fun class to play. They also, in certain skills, are super proficient. Like most people to stealth will have a +3 or a +2. Rogues at 8th level have a +15 to stealth, and that's absurd. But yeah, rogues are a very fun class to play. I really enjoy them, and for that, I'm gonna put them in A tier. The Ranger, also known as the... what exactly are you? The Ranger's kind of a mix between the Rogue and the Druid. It has skills and stealth and it's able to stealth around like the Rogue, but it also has a lot of nature-based spells, so it kind of wants to be a Druid. But it's not really its own thing. It does have a cool ability where it's like can be really good in certain types of terrain, like you can be like forest, desert, stuff like that. But the main problem with the Ranger is the fact that it's very situational. Because if you pick a desert Ranger and you never go to the desert, why are you even playing a Ranger when you could be playing a Druid? Like, all of the abilities are wasted. I do think Rangers have cool abilities, like as in, there's like, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a subclass you can take that lets you have like an animal companion, which is really cool. In fact, if you're playing a smaller character like a halfling or a gnome, you can literally get a mount of like a wolf or something, and I think that's really cool actually. I think the Ranger isn't a bad class, but it needs some work, that's for sure. Also, this class can cast some spells, but that's not really its main focus. Anyways, this class, it's not bad. In certain situations, it's quite good. Like if you're playing in a forest and you have a forest ranger, that is pretty good. But on its own, this is definitely C tier. Sorcerers. Now we're really getting into the powerful magic classes. Unlike clerics and bards, they're support classes. They have some good spells, but not like these classes. Sorcerers are probably the easiest of these spellcasters. That's what I'm going to call them, just the spellcaster group. They have a lot of cool spells that applies to all of them. My opinion's kind of changed on sorcerers. I originally thought that sorcerers were just lesser wizards, because they're basically wizards, but they don't know as many spells, but they're really not. I don't understand people who say that the sorcerer kind of isn't that great, because sorcerer's actually really cool. First, you get sorcery points, which makes it so you can cast really cool versions of your spells. You can cast like 2 fireballs at once, or a silent fireball, or you can make a spell last for a really long time. Also the bloodlines. You could have a draconic bloodline, so you grow scales and stuff, giving you a higher armor class. And wild magic, which is pretty fun. Pretty much whenever you cast a spell, you roll a d20, and if you roll a 1, something weird happens. There's a whole table in the player's handbook, and a lot of weird stuff can happen. Sorcerers are quite cool. They're probably the easiest of all the spellcasters between Warlock, Sorcerer, and Wizard. But sorcerers are quite fun, and for the time that I've played them, they are quite interesting. As where I put this, this is also probably an A tier. Warlocks. Okay, I'm being honest, I really don't like this class. In my opinion, this is a cool idea, executed not very well. They're kind of similar to clerics, but unlike clerics who are given their magic by their deities, warlocks draw powers from it. Basically, they worship a deity or patron, and they draw power from them, where clerics is given to them. But the thing is, with warlocks, you're not given that many cool abilities, and you have like no spell slots and cantrips. It's kind of... It feels really underpowered. You do get some cool invocations once you level up a bit more, but I find that you're very limited in terms of your spells. And I don't know, this is a class that I probably won't play, or if I do, it'll be a while down the road. I haven't played this class yet, but from what I've read of it, it doesn't seem super interesting to me, or it just doesn't seem like it feels a little underpowered, if you get what I'm saying. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this in C tier. And finally, Wizards, a really fun and a really powerful class. This is probably the hardest of all the spellcasting classes that I've talked about: Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard, and they're also quite complicated. First of all, the way their spells work is a bit different. You have a spell book, and every level you can add a few new spells to that spell book, which is quite interesting also. They also have a lot of schools they can join based on what kind of spells they can have. There's School of Necromancy, there's some that I've forgotten about. Just give me a sec. School of Enchantment, School of Evocation, School of Necromancy, Illusion. There's all kinds. I really like the Wizard of how customizable they are. I'm playing a Wizard currently in one of my friend's campaigns, a Dragonborn Wizard, School of Necromancy. It's quite fun. They have a lot of really cool abilities. And they get a crap ton of spells. I think that's the best thing that comes to Wizards, is they just get so many spells to work with. And I guess, where am I going to put this? I'm putting Wizard in S tier. Well, that's all the classes. Let's quickly recap. In C tier, we had Warlock and Ranger, two classes that had good ideas but weren't really executed properly. In B tier, Paladin, Monk, and Barbarian, classes that are fun enough, but there are some that are better. A tier, Sorcerer, Druid, Fighter, Rogue, and Cleric. These are all really great classes, and if you are wondering what to play in D&D, these are definitely good starters. And S tier, Wizard and Bard, the two best classes in the game. Well, guys, I'd say that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There will probably be more D&D content in the future. I've been playing a lot of D&D lately, and I must say, it's awesome. So I probably will have some more D&D content soon. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Expect a new video sometime this week. I have to put up a new review of a really good movie I just watched. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!